Tiffany Henyard, once hailed as a dynamic and ambitious leader, now stands at the center of a sprawling federal investigation that has exposed a legacy of corruption, financial mismanagement, and abuse of power during her tenure as mayor of Dalton, Illinois. Her downfall serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked authority in local government. Henyard's administration began with high hopes. Elected as Dalton's first woman and youngest mayor, she quickly earned the nickname Super Mayor for her assertive leadership style and bold promises to transform the community. However, beneath this charismatic exterior, a troubling pattern of misconduct began to emerge. A comprehensive investigation led by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot revealed significant financial mismanagement within Dalton's government. The village's general fund, once boasting a surplus of $5.6 million in April 2022, had plummeted to a deficit of $3.65 million by May 2024. This drastic shift was attributed to Henyard's excessive spending, including lavish trips to Las Vegas and unauthorized purchases from retailers like Amazon and Wayfair. In one instance, over $43,000 was spent on Amazon purchases in a single-day site-turn-zero search for. Further scrutiny uncovered that Henyard had failed to properly manage federal funds allocated to Dalton. Despite receiving more than $3 million in American Rescue Plan funds, the village lacked designated personnel to track and report the use of these funds. Violating U.S. Treasury Department requirements, site-turn-zero search zero, the situation escalated when the FBI became involved, serving subpoenas at Dalton Village Hall to obtain personnel and business records. This federal action underscored the severity of the allegations against Henyard and her administration's site-turn-zero search. Henyard's leadership was also marked by controversial decisions that prioritized personal interests over public service. Notably, she allocated $561,000 from the village's budget to repave her mother's driveway, a move that sparked outrage among residents already grappling with deteriorating infrastructure. Additionally, she reportedly assigned police officers as her personal bodyguards and errand runners, diverting resources from essential public safety duties despite mounting evidence and public outcry. Henyard maintained a defiant stance, often dismissing critics and continuing her lavish lifestyle. Her refusal to acknowledge the growing discontent among Dalton's residents further eroded public trust. The turning point came when Carmen Carroll, a former associate of Henyard, became a whistleblower, providing federal authorities with critical evidence of Henyard's misconduct. Carroll's testimony, along with supporting documents, played a pivotal role in initiating a broader FBI investigation that now includes surveillance of Henyard's political associates, vendors, and personal business ventures, suggesting that her actions may be part of a more extensive network of corruption as the federal investigation deepens. Henyard faces 22 serious federal charges, including misappropriation of public funds, fraud, and concealing millions of dollars in taxpayer money. If convicted, she could face a prison sentence of up to 25 years site-turn-zero search 6 for the residents of Dalton. The aftermath of Henyard's leadership is profound. The town now confronts a $3.65 million deficit, a shattered reputation, and the daunting task of rebuilding trust in local government. Henyard's rise and fall serve as a cautionary tale about the perils of unchecked power and the critical importance of transparency and accountability in public office. The fall of Tiffany Henyard, a cautionary tale of corruption, power, and a town in crisis once celebrated as a trailblazer and rising political star. Tiffany Henyard's meteoric rise in Dalton, Illinois, has come crashing down in a blaze of scandal, federal investigations, and public outrage. Hailed as a charismatic super mayor, Henyard was Dalton's first female mayor and a symbol of hope for revitalization. But behind the scenes, her leadership unraveled into a deeply troubling story of corruption, reckless financial mismanagement, and a staggering betrayal of public trust today. Henyard stands at the center of a wide-reaching federal probe, charged with 22 serious offenses, including misappropriation of public funds, fraud, and concealment of taxpayer money. If convicted, she could face up to 25 years in prison. Her dramatic fall from grace marks a pivotal turning point not only in her career, but in the fate of the community she once vowed to uplift under Henyard's leadership. Dalton went from a town with a nearly $6 million budget surplus to one now facing an overwhelming $36 million deficit. The fiscal collapse has been attributed to Henyard's extravagant and self-serving spending habits. Investigators uncovered a trail of financial abuses, including a $7,700 shopping spree at Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair over $112,000 in luxury travel costs and $43,000 spent in a single day on Amazon, paid for with public funds. She even used taxpayer money to fund her personal glam squad for travel, and in one of the most egregious abuses, allocated $561,000 to repay her mother's driveway. Meanwhile, essential infrastructure in Dalton deteriorated, and vital public services were neglected. Public safety also took a hit, with reports revealing that Henyard had misused the local police force, assigning officers as her personal bodyguards and errand runners, diverting resources from rising crime concerns in the community. Henyard's reign was also marked by lavish, self-promotional events. One such celebration, billed as a community event, featured entertainers like rapper Jay and artist WHLFD Gene. Despite costing taxpayers over $555,000, including $36,000 on sound equipment, the event drew fewer than 70 attendees and was held even after her municipal credit privileges had been revoked. All the while, Henyard maintained an image of strength and progress. But behind the photo ops and rhetoric, financial mismanagement and a disregard for transparency were taking a heavy toll on the village. The unraveling of Henyard's political empire accelerated when former ally Carmen Carroll turned whistleblower. Armed with receipts, internal documents, and first-hand knowledge of the inner workings of Henyard's administration, Carroll handed over damning evidence to federal authorities. Her courage marked a turning point in the investigation and validated long-held suspicions among many Dalton residents. Federal investigators, now with evidence in hand, expanded their probe to include surveillance of Henyard's political allies, vendors, and business associates, signaling that this may be more than just the actions of a rogue mayor. It could be the exposure of a broader network of collusion and systemic corruption in a move that stunned the community. Henyard voluntarily surrendered to federal authorities, an act that caught even her inner circle off guard. Speculation swirled about a possible deal with prosecutors, perhaps in exchange for leniency or broader indictments. If such a deal exists, it may unlock a deeper layer of the scandal, implicating others within Henyard's circle who enabled or benefited from the abuses of power. The shock intensified when news broke that Henyard could no longer afford her legal team. Her attorney reportedly abandoned her case, a sharp fall from grace for someone who once traveled in high-end circles and portrayed herself as untouchable. As Henyard's case unfolds in federal court, the residents of Dalton are left to reckon with the damage. Financially, emotionally, and socially, the town faces an enormous deficit, with millions in taxpayer dollars unaccounted for. But the economic devastation is only part of the story. The real injury lies in the shattered public trust, the disillusionment of a betrayed community, and the demoralization of public institutions. Many residents are still grappling with how someone once seen as a beacon of hope could cause such deep harm. Former allies like trustee Valeria Stubbs and community leader Jennifer Roberts have stepped forward to condemn Henyard's actions, reflecting a broader reckoning among the town's leadership. Even those who once defended her now acknowledge that the scope of the betrayal runs deep. Henyard's rise and fall now stands as a chilling example of the dangers of unchecked authority. Her self-styled image as a confident, ambitious reformer has been recast as a warning sign, her charisma masking a relentless pursuit of personal gain at the community's expense. The scale of her alleged corruption underscores a vital need for oversight, ethical governance, and mechanisms of accountability, particularly in small towns where power often operates with minimal scrutiny. The scandal has prompted calls for systemic reform, not just in Dalton, but in surrounding municipalities. Residents are demanding increased transparency, independent audits, and new leadership committed to restoring integrity. As the dust begins to settle and the legal process unfolds, Dalton finds itself at a critical crossroads. The town must now begin the arduous journey of financial recovery and civic restoration. Institutions must be rebuilt, and the spirit of the community must be rekindled. While the path forward is uncertain and fraught with challenges, there remains a glimmer of hope. Many in the community are stepping up, motivated not by politics, but by the desire to see their town healed. Every step taken toward justice and reform moves Dalton closer to recovery. Tiffany Henyard's downfall will be remembered as one of the most devastating political scandals in the town's history. Her name, once associated with promise, is now synonymous with betrayal and corruption. Yet from the wreckage, a new opportunity may arise, a chance to rebuild with leaders who understand the cost of failure and the importance of public trust for people of Dalton. The process of healing will take years, but in the wake of disgrace and destruction, there lies the resilience of community that refuses to be defined by its darkest chapter. In time, the town may emerge stronger, more vigilant, and more united than ever before Dalton's reckoning. The rise and fall of Tiffany Henyard and the fight to reclaim a community in the quiet town of Dalton, Illinois, won a symbol of suburban promise. The destructive power of unchecked authority has left deep and lasting scars. Tiffany Henyard, once hailed as a charismatic and trailblazing leader, has become the face of betrayal, greed, and political corruption. What was supposed to be a new era of progress under her leadership has instead spiraled into a devastating scandal, shaking the very foundation of the community. At the core of the Henyard controversy lies a painful truth. When personal ambition and greed overshadow public service and civic responsibility, communities suffer. Dalton, once stable and financially sound, now finds itself mired in chaos. The town is grappling with the consequences of years of exploitation and mismanagement, attempting to recover from the legacy of a leader who prioritized self-interest above the people she was elected to serve. The emotional toll on the residents of Dalton is profound. Many once viewed Henyard as a beacon of change, a leader with the strength and vision to uplift a struggling town. But behind the polished public image, investigators uncovered a staggering pattern of financial abuse, corruption, and unchecked power. Federal probes have revealed that Henyard's administration misused public funds on a shocking scale. Among the most egregious discoveries was a single-day Amazon shopping spree totaling $440,000. She spent taxpayer dollars on luxury travel, personal glam squads, and extravagant events, while basic public services deteriorated and infrastructure crumbled. One of the more symbolic abuses involved using $561,000 to repave her mother's driveway. While residents dealt with rising crime, budget cuts, and failing services, Henyard lived lavishly at their expense as the town's financial health collapsed, with a deficit ballooning to over $36 million. State and federal authorities intervened. The Illinois State Comptroller was forced to halt a $135,000 payment due to fiscal instability, further plunging the town into uncertainty. In a desperate effort to stabilize the situation, Dalton hired former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot as a consultant at $400 per hour to help untangle the fiscal and administrative wreckage. This drastic step underscored both the seriousness of the crisis and the daunting task that lies ahead. It also served as a painful acknowledgement. Henyard's leadership had not only failed, but had left the town on the brink of ruin. Her voluntary surrender to federal authorities marked a pivotal moment, a glimmer of justice in a long-running saga of abuse and corruption. Yet her decision to deter herself and also raised eyebrows, with many speculating it was a strategic legal move, possibly part of a deal to reduce her sentence by cooperating with investigators. Beyond the financial devastation, the toxic work environment fostered under Henyard's administration has surfaced as another disturbing element of her tenure. Multiple former employees have come forward with allegations of wrongful termination and workplace retaliation. Among them is Trish Bond, a former staffer who filed a lawsuit claiming she was punished for refusing to engage in unethical behavior at Henyard's request. A culture, described by whistleblowers as oppressive and retaliatory, rewarded blind loyalty and punished dissent. This environment allowed corruption to flourish unchecked, further damaging morale and institutional trust as the investigation deepens. Even more disturbing accusations have emerged, including allegations of sexual misconduct during official city visits. Staff members have come forward with claims of assault, intimidation, and threats. These reports, if substantiated, reveal a chilling abuse of power that extended far beyond financial exploitation. The combination of financial corruption, personal enrichment, and alleged sexual misconduct has destroyed what little remained of Henyard's reputation. Once seen as a rising political star, she is now viewed by many as a symbol of moral failure and institutional decay. Despite the growing mountain of evidence and the gravity of the allegations, Henyard remained in office long after the federal investigation had begun, further deepening public frustration. Her refusal to step down and suspected efforts to delay legal proceedings raised serious concerns about accountability in the political system. How could someone facing 22 federal charges still hold office? This question lingers over the residents of Dalton, amplifying the already profound sense of betrayal. Even now, with Henyard out of power, the community continues to reel from the damage. The town's finances are in disarray. Its reputation is tarnished. Its institutions are fractured. For many residents, the wounds go beyond dollars. They are emotional, spiritual, and deeply personal. Dalton's story is now one loss of money, stability, trust, and pride. But within that story is also an opportunity. Amid the despair and outrage lies the potential for rebirth. The scandal has sparked urgent calls for transparency, accountability, and reform in local governance. Residents once passive are now activated. Former allies of Henyard have turned against her. Civic engagement is rising. There is a collective desire to rebuild, to ensure this never happens again as federal authorities continue to peel back the layers of Henyard's administration, examining her political allies and vendors. The town stands at a crucial crossroads. It can either remain mired in the pain of betrayal or use it as fuel to drive meaningful change. The saga of Tiffany Henyard will be remembered not just as a political downfall, but as a cautionary tale, one that exposes the dangers of unchecked power, weak oversight, and a lack of ethical leadership. Her rise and fall have become a defining moment in Illinois politics, a vivid illustration of how systems can fail when personal ambition is left unmonitored. It also highlights the vulnerability of small towns like Dalton, where tight-knit communities place great trust in their leaders. Trust that, when betrayed, can leave devastating consequences, but it is also a story of resilience, of a community bruised but not broken, beginning to find its voice again, of people who, despite everything, still believe in the possibility of honest governance. Dalton's future remains uncertain, but it is not without hope. The road ahead is steep, filled with hard decisions, financial hardship, and emotional healing. But the resolve of the town's residents offers a flicker of optimism. With persistence, vigilance, and a renewed commitment to integrity and transparency, Dalton can begin to rebuild, not just its economy, but its spirit. The people of Dalton deserve better. And while the road to redemption is long, the community's willingness to confront its past and fight for a better future may yet transform this moment of crisis into a defining chapter of renewal. Tiffany Henyard's reign may have cast a long and dark shadow, but it need not define Dalton's legacy. What will define it instead is how the town responds, how it learns, reforms, and rises again